Hello, my name is Stacy Kennedy, and what I'd like to do is show you a spreadsheet I found on the internet, downloaded it, and then I modified it to try to make it have a few more features and all. First thing is I didn't make this thing originally. Somebody else needs the credit, and I don't know who did it, but I didn't. So I found it. It's useful. I'd like to show it to you. Okay, this scenario, what you have to do is go to the balances page, first page. Type in your age right here, 25. Let's just change this to 40, okay? All right, today's year is 2021, but if we had to adjust it, we could adjust it and everything would cascade down. Okay, over here at the side, I added this column here. Whatever age you type in, adjust these so that at age 59 and a half, that's when you start pulling money out of your 401k, okay? At 70 and a half, that's where you're forced into required minimum distributions. Whatever money you got in your 401k, you're going to be forced to start taking out 4% of it a year by the government. Okay, you don't have a choice. They're going to force you to do it if it's in a 401k. All right, this first column right here, or these balances right here I got highlighted. Okay, whatever your starting balance is at January 1st for this year, okay, whatever you got right now, okay, in your balances, you can type them in right there. Okay, now your rate of return is 8%, or assume 8%. If you got invested in stocks, then your 15-year average is going to be 8% returns. If you're investing in a S&P 500 index or a total stock market index, that's the traditional average number. A lot of people will argue that don't know any better, but that is, you can Google it, you can look on Yahoo Finance or Vanguard or Fidelity or anybody, but you can go to Yahoo Finance, type in S&P 500, get that fund, plot it for the last 30 years, your annual return is 8%. Okay, assume your inflation is 2%. Okay, now your retirement year, okay, if it's 2021 now and you're 40 years old, okay, at let's pull up to say at 2036. Okay, so let me type in 2036 right there. Okay, now what it's going to do is it's going to if I'm going to amount, if I start out at zero, okay, and I put 10,000 a year, okay, so the first year I'm going to put in $10,000. Okay, I started out with a balance of zero. I put in 10,000. Okay, and at 8% interest, okay, then the next year that's what I've got on January 1st. That's what I've got. Okay, all right, and it's going to be 8% every year gain. Okay. Now, if we're getting out at 55, if we want to look at that evaluation, this here number right here is 498. It's going to take this number, pull over here to retirement, at 4098, 55 years old, year 2036, all that gets transported over here to this page. Now we can look at the evaluation of how do we expect our money to flow, and will we run out of money, okay? Assuming that our expenses are $67,000. Okay, how do we come up with $67,000? That sounds pretty high. You come over here to balances, and this is where you put in how much money you're planning on spending every year. Okay, so if you're retired, that's $50,000. That's pretty high. Okay, so let's say $30,000. Okay, at $30,000 and a 2% inflation rate. Okay. Inflation's assumption is always 2%. Some people say 3%, but a good number is 2%. That's what it is right now. Okay, so our expected expenses when we retire, if we're living on $30,000 a year now, then $40,376 will come over to our retirement. Okay, and there it gets put in there. Okay, how do we feed that, or how do we fund this $40,000? Okay. First thing, it's going to eat out of the brokerage account. If the brokerage account has got any money in it, it's going to eat out of it first. Okay. Second, it's going to start pulling out of the Roth. Okay. All right. Also, it's going to do an evaluation if we can transfer tax deferred money over to the Roth every year and do a Roth ladder, okay? And that's what this valuation here is about. Okay, so we will run out of money if we keep this expense ratio going and gaining. And that's typically not, most people when they retire, when they get 68 years old, they're not spending as much money, as they were, or instead of gaining on expenses, they're probably lowering their expenses. So, but assuming that 2% inflation, everything stayed the same, just for calculation, we're going to run out of money at 74 years old. Okay. So if we're running out at 74, can we retire early at the top here? No. Does it make sense to do a Roth ladder? Yes. Okay. All right. So if we can't sustain ourselves at this point, all right, let's go see where we could. Okay. So at 55, at $40,000, the kind of a ballpark approximation is this, using the 4% rule and the 3% rule. Okay. We've got to get enough money saved up here, okay, so that we can pull and live off only 4% draw for that account, okay? So at this point, it's going to be right around 67 years old, okay? So let's see how that works out at 67. I base that off of $51,000, and our 4% is at $50,000. Okay, so all right, so let's try these numbers. 67 at 67, will we have enough money? Okay, all right. So I type in 2048. Okay, at 2048, it's a huge amount of money, 1.6. Okay, we come over here. That 1.6 there, we don't have any worries. Okay, we're never gonna run out of money. Okay, all right. So, can we retire at 67? Yes, absolutely, no doubt about it. Okay, so let's see where the train runs off track at. Okay, say it's 60 years old. That'd be 2041. Let's see what it does. Okay, all right, 2041. 840, okay, 840 comes right there. Okay, we keep going and we still are self-supportive. Okay, all right, so back up. Can we do it at 58? Okay, that'd be 2039. Okay, all right, at some point here, we're going to start running out of money, and there's what we do, run out of money. Okay, so in all likelihood, we're going to die before we get to 96, but if we're not, then we'd run out of money based off these assumptions of expenses being this high. So there's a lot of variables here, and really the purpose of the value in the spreadsheet is you can see if I'm saving a certain amount in my 401k and a certain amount in my Roth and a certain amount in my brokerage account. And you can just change these numbers, change your age, change what year you want to look at, change what expenses it is, and you can run the different scenarios yourself. Okay, and that's the beauty of this spreadsheet, is it gives you the ability to do that. Like I say, if we're looking at assumptions, or not assumptions, but things to be aware of, one is this expense ratio is going up 2% a year, and I don't necessarily agree with that, but typically I don't agree with it. But the fact that healthcare costs are going up so much, you're probably going to spend less eating, and you're going to spend a bigger percentage of your yearly expenses is going to go to healthcare. Okay, but it also, these spreadsheets, the other tabs, it lets you do the full Roth ladder conversion comparison, how that would look if you do a 5-year conversion or you do a fixed ladder conversion. So it lets you see how those different scenarios, if you look at any financial advisor, that's really the 3 scenarios they're going to look at to tell you if a Roth makes sense from what my experience is I tell everybody, if you're going to put money in anything right now, don't put it in a 401k, but put it in a Roth. Okay, typically. The only exception to that is if you're already, there's no real exception to that, no matter what age you are. So anyway, that's what I've seen, and that's what I think. Every situation's different, I guess, but for most scenarios, it makes absolutely more sense to do a Roth conversion. Either do a Roth conversion if you got money in a 401k and you're not going to need it for at least 10 years, convert your money from a 401k into a Roth. Okay, if you're 20 years away from retirement, stick every dime you got in savings, stick it in that Roth. Okay, and when I say Roth, I'm talking about a 401k Roth at your business. You can also have a side 401 or a side Roth account, completely separate than whatever company account you have. You and your wife both can contribute $7,000 to a separate Roth account. So if say in this situation, if somebody did do that, the husband and wife both put in $7,000 a year into a Roth account, and say at their company, if they got matched for the first 6%, so this number here would be smaller, so say $4,000. Okay, $3,000 or $4,000, depending on what their annual make is. But if you type that in, okay, and then what you see is at 55 here, this number here is quite a bit bigger. Okay, or more money is inside the Roth, and what you do then is you eat out of the brokerage first, and then you're able to self-perpetuate coming out of this Roth, and you've got all your money converted out of the 401k before you hit 69 or before you hit 70. So you never have to make required minimum distributions, and essentially you don't have to pay taxes on anything that's in the Roth once you retire. Okay. You will pay on the conversions here for the first couple of years. But if your standard deduction is $24,000, you don't have to pay. The first $24,000 is a standard deduction, so you don't actually pay tax on that. So the earlier you retire, in some ways, the better that tax treatment. But if you've got everything you've got 100% sitting in a 401k, you got to pay. You're going to have to pay taxes a good bit. So, but this spreadsheet will help you figure out those tax loads and figure out the different timing and the different scenarios. Let's see. As you get closer, I think absolutely it's good to see a financial advisor. Compare what they say. Compare it on your own spreadsheet. And make sure that you understand, the shortcomings and the advantages of whatever scenarios they're talking about. So that's my opinion. But the Roth ladder is usually the biggest thing that people mess up on, I think, or don't take advantage of. That and then the basic one up here on the balance is the time value of money, how much it helps you to get to save at an earlier age, to start saving. That's tremendous. The faster you start, it works out so much better. If years, if you've got extra years there that you can accumulate and let that snowball effect of compounding interest get bigger and bigger. That's just a huge advantage. It's a lot harder. If you don't have as much time, it gets harder, I guess. But like I say, this spreadsheet, you can put your current values in here, whatever your annual contributions are that you want to put right here. Adjust each one of them for your situation, and you can look at that expense ratio, how much you're planning on spending every year, or how much you're spending right now, and you can calculate off of that. So. And here's the 4% rule, 3% rule column as far as how much to be completely safe. That's typically viewed upon as at 4%. Super conservative, 3%. If you get to the point you can live off of 3% of your portfolio, then you're probably or you're definitely able to retire. Okay. That's assuming that you're going to get 8%, and that's assuming that you're doing that in a safe manner, probably investing in a S&P 500 or a total stock market index fund. If you're interested in advice or learning more on finances, a very good YouTube channel is Our Rich Journey. Okay, it's a couple that were in California. I think they retired at 33 years old. Moved out of the country. Actually, I moved to Portugal, and they put all their finances, absolutely 100% of it, all their advice. They do a YouTube video, I think, every week. It's probably one of the very best I've ever seen. Fundamentally, the thing they're going to harp on more or less is increase your knowledge. Okay, you can't learn everything in a week, but if you learn a little bit every day, or at least once a month, sit down and try to do a deep dive about what's the difference between a 401k and a Roth 401k. What's the difference between an IRA and a 401k? What's the drawdown strategies? What's the expense ratios of investing in a mutual fund or investing in an ETF? All those kind of things. They have a ton of those videos, and you can really increase your knowledge. I hope you like this spreadsheet. I hope it's useful to you. Okay, thank you. Bye.